Welcome to another edition of Len's Burning Bush. I am Len Harvey. Before I bring on my guest, I want to talk about what's really burning my bush. Now, this has been going on for a while, so it's kind of been seething in my self, I guess. But social media has become a place to voice opinions, but it has become extremely, extremely judgmental. And these days, there's a lot of bullying going on. There's the act of the statement that you make. If you don't agree with somebody, well, please unfriend me now. You know, not too hard to unfriend a lot of these people anyway, but it's just, I don't understand. And it reminded me of something that I had watched, and I was a big Seinfeld fan, so I watched this. About 20 years ago, there was a particular episode of Seinfeld that really hits home, and I think it really resonates with what is going on right now. So I'm going to kind of go over this a little bit. It was the Kiss Hello episode of Seinfeld. In this episode, if you haven't seen it, you should. But if you haven't seen it, Kramer plans to put each of the tenants' pictures up and their name up in the building lobby. Now, this is a way for everybody. This is before social media. This is a way for everybody to kind of get to know each other, right? They know their names. They can now, maybe they go out for coffee. They do some things. And, of course, Jerry, he's got enough friends. He doesn't really want to participate in this, but he really doesn't like the idea. So Kramer takes a surprise photo of Jerry for the wall. And everybody's coming up to Jerry and, hello, Jerry, and they give the kiss hello, and he feels obligated to engage everyone in the building. But if you really look at the episode, you can see deep down that Jerry does not want to participate at all, and he's very uncomfortable in the whole process. So somebody should have come to him and said, look, Jerry, you are having an issue with this. We realize it, but I think that maybe you can do something else, maybe a fist bump or something. But nobody did that, right? So it took for Jerry to finally come out himself, right? You can see this. He finally tells somebody he's uncomfortable with the being kissed, right? Now, as a result of this, he becomes ostracized. And even the superintendent won't even take care of his shower. He refuses to fix it. But what's interesting is the words he uses. He uses the words of, after I take care of the people who are civil to each other, Seinfeld, then maybe I'll get to yours, right? But I found that interesting because really what they're doing is taking their ball and going home. They're just basically ostracizing Jerry, but everybody else is okay. It's kind of a very hypocritical thing to do, isn't it? And really the word hypocrite means a person who acts in contradiction to his or her stated beliefs or feelings. So saying one thing, doing another, right? It seems really bad, and a lot of people are doing that now. I want everybody to just take a step back for a second and just look at what you're posting. And if somebody doesn't agree with you, that's fine. You can have a conversation. It can be a two-way street. But basically, remember what you're doing is you're ostracizing Jerry for not wanting to kiss you hello. Maybe we need to go back to a COVID-friendly kiss hello. Remember why you were even friends in the first place. With that being said, it's time to bring on my guest for the week. She is a science fiction author whose latest book is called Blast Away. Let's welcome Melissa Landers. And Melissa, please blast me away somewhere so we can get away from this stuff because it's really starting to tick me off.
I wish I could. I love to travel, and that's been the hardest part of COVID, just being trapped. But you picked a really, really relevant topic for me because social media is actually part of my job.
Yeah.
And it has been since the beginning. And it is such a blessing and a curse. I remember when I finally joined Facebook, you know, how fun it was to reconnect with friends and family members who, you know, I never ever would have seen. And it was fun for about a hot minute. Well, probably until about 2016 when it all hit the fan. And feelings were so raw after 2016, and I can completely relate because mine were raw. And I saw a very dynamic shift, especially on Twitter. I don't know if you're on Twitter.
Yes.
I have to be. I'm all over. Oh, yeah, that's right. You are. Yeah, I'm all over the place. And there became a sort of shift in where it wasn't enough to just be an innocent bystander. Your silence made you complicit. And that's a problem when you are marketing to people, because I have to market to all demographics. I do not want to alienate any segment of my readership. And that's an impossible thing to do if you're going to get involved in any kind of discussion on politics, on the state of the world at large. So I think the key is you have to decide what your purpose is on social media. My personal Facebook page, I'll say whatever I want to say there because I do not friend editors, readers. That is just for the people I know personally. But on Twitter, on Instagram, I mean, I'm never on Tumblr anymore, but on any of my, my author Facebook page, that is books. It's all books. It might be something a little personal, like maybe me on a trip or, a cute puppy retweet, but I don't get personal on my professional pages. That's what I've learned, that you really, if you don't want to alienate your readers, don't alienate your readers. It's that simple.
Yeah, but you brought up an interesting point, and this is what I'm getting to. You brought up the complicit stuff, like if you're silent and you're complicit. What is it? What is it? Their business. My point is this any opinions, right? A lot of people have opinions. I used to like to say, God must have loved a-holes because he sure made enough of them, and that's kind of with opinions come all of that with that. But my thing is, you can't on one thing, go against something and then totally do the opposite with your friends or, the whole Jerry thing, bringing that back is he didn't want to do the kiss hello. So is he a bad person because he doesn't want to do the kiss hello? Maybe he just feels weird. People don't. I always tell my kids that, no one likes to be touched, right? Get away from me, right? I think that's kind of the same thing. Why is it such a big deal? But even back then, people do the same thing. They'll ostracize a person because they have a different belief than themselves, but yet they claim to be, a religious person, let's say. But a religious person wouldn't ostracize anybody. You're supposed to be good to each other, right? That's the idea here, is we need to go back to why was it that we were friends with this person in the first place? Family members are getting into fights on Facebook and Twitter and whatever. It's become really awful. And I like to make light of it because it's kind of stupid that you get into arguments, but I find it very hypocritical that one side will denounce something, the other side denounces the other thing, and they get into a point where they have no middle ground, and it is just time to just take a break and really look at what you're doing because you're being that person that's ostracizing Jerry.
Well, what I see is a lot of rationalizing. No matter what side you're on, you have your beliefs. And if you're passionate about your beliefs, then you will naturally take it a step farther and say, am I going to be part of the problem or part of the solution? If I want to be part of the solution, these are the things I have to do. And that's, you asked, why do people ostracize others? It's a rationalization. They feel like if they don't do something, then they're part of the problem. And it's funny, when you brought up Seinfeld, I thought for sure you were going to bring up that, was it the Red Ribbon episode?
Oh, yeah. Who wants to wear the ribbon? Who wants to wear the ribbon? Yeah.
And
the AIDS ribbon.
Kramer was there to do the walk. He was there to do the fundraiser. He was there to support the cause. He just didn't want to wear the red ribbon.
It's the bullying.
And they were like, what? You don't want a ribbon? He's like, yeah, I don't want to wear a ribbon. And they made it a thing and ended up chasing him down. You're going to wear the ribbon.
Exactly.
That's
the hypocritical thing. You're doing, why do you have to wear the ribbon? Why do you have to, the Facebook is the ribbon, Twitter's the ribbon. It's all the ribbon. Who wants to wear the ribbon? And no one wants to wear the ribbon. And that's,
well, like I said,
okay.
It's a difference in perspective. To Kramer, I'm here. I'm supporting the cause. I'm raising money. That's enough. To everyone else, it's not enough. You have to show that you're in support. You have to wear this symbol. It's funny. It raised some really interesting points, but that's where I thought you were going with that.
I apologize I didn't go that way, but I just thought of the kiss hello as kind of this, but the ribbon is kind of the same thing as what I'm trying to say. Is that what I don't get is that people just can't be happy with whatever somebody's doing and mind your own business, right? That does not, bottom line is a lot of this stuff doesn't affect you personally. Just get over it, move on. I talked about in one of my episodes about the word fanatic. It's now become a thing not only in sports, but it's become a political thing where people can't just go halfway. They've got to go all the way extreme. And the extremists are what's killing everything because you have extremists on both sides and nobody's in the middle anymore. And that's where
Well,
we need to get to.
I wouldn't say no one. I see a lot of people. Well, I'm pretty far left leaning. I'll tell you that. And I grew up in a military family that was very religious, so it's not a stretch when I say that almost all of my family are very right leaning, and we don't fight over that. We acknowledge that we have different beliefs, and we don't talk politics when we get together, and it's that simple. There are a lot of people like that. And I don't have any trouble just scrolling past anybody's whose beliefs differ from mine. The only people I hide, just because they raise my blood pressure and I can't take it, are these kind of people who are convinced there's a global conspiracy to like bake children into pizzas and oh my Lord, I can't even. I've learned you cannot reason with these people. They do want to be reasoned with. Whatever part of their brain used to be capable of rational thought is now pudding. And so I just hide or unfriend those because, like I said, that's bad for my rage.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think there's a lot of people that can still meet in the middle. It just doesn't seem that way. And I say this to my dad a lot. He'll take out his phone and he'll spend 30 seconds on Facebook and he'll say, the world's going to hell. And I'll say, no, Dad, it's not. You just need to stop going on Facebook because all of the negativity is amplified. If you just put your phone away and you look around, the world is still the same good place it ever was. And I told him, let me tell you what I see. I see someone who held the door open for me when I came in the restaurant. I see strangers letting me out in front of them in traffic. I see people smiling and greeting each other. I see 99% of human beings trying to be good, gracious, compassionate people. But unfortunately, social media amplifies that 1% of assholery and makes it feel like everyone's a jerk, that no one can get along. And it's really not that way. Again, circling back to social media being a blessing and a curse, this is one of the, in my opinion, the biggest downsides is that the bad is amplified to the point where it can be all you see, depending on the kind of feed that you've curated.
Well, that is terrific, and I like the fact that you can get along with family members that don't agree with you because that's the way it should be. We should just have conversation. The whole idea is like I see so many people will unfriend me and they start unfriending people, and it's like you were friends before. Why 30-year friendship shouldn't end over a conversation on Facebook, right? And that's kind of what I've always thought. But it's just I don't think we're ever going to really fix it. I would hope that we could, but the kiss hello. Maybe we need to figure out something that's a little bit better than that. But speaking of
a fist bump,
a fist bump. We can do the fist bump now because of COVID. Now, speaking of COVID, and kind of in a good news, a Georgia woman is heading into the new year having beaten incredible odds, and apparently death is one of them. Lisa Martin, 49 years old, had been admitted to a Memorial Satilla Health Emergency Room in Waycross, Georgia, back in September for COVID. But according to a Thursday Facebook post in the hospital, her amazing journey includes 59 days on a ventilator, 40 days. She was comatose, but now she is doing okay. So that's the kind of good news, right? She's almost dying and then comes back. And that's the stuff we should be focusing on, the good. I did an episode, the Good News Network or Positive News Network, PNN is what I called it. And we need more positive news like that because there's so much negativity, like you mentioned. If we could just focus on some of the positive things, because even in the news media, they'll focus on, 1,000 people have COVID. Well, okay, what about the people that have recovered, right? Is it 990 that are good, or what's the numbers, the true numbers? But nobody ever really wants to kind of do that. So I think that's why I focus on some of the good stories, and it makes me feel better anyway. I don't know about anybody else, but it makes me feel better.
Yeah, no, even in our own home, we've tried to start a tradition where at the dinner table, everybody goes around the table and they will mention 3 things that they're thankful for and 1 good thing that happened to them that day. just because I had seen an overall trend in negativity in our family, complaining, whining, victimhood mentality, and I don't know, nobody likes to be around people like that, and I don't want to raise children like that. So I'm trying to, I've been doing a lot of research on the brain and why we tend toward negativity, and it's all about neural pathways. Your thoughts form little trenches in your brain. So if you want to change your thought processes, the ratio is 3 to 1. You identify one negative thought and then you immediately counter it with 3 positive thoughts, 3 things you're thankful for, and that's the only way to change those habitual thought processes. And again, circling back to social media, if you want to feel better about the world, I'm not saying unfriend people that you care about, but if you have that old friend and all they post is inflammatory content that raises your blood pressure, hide them.
Yeah.
You don't need to see them in your feed in order to be friends with them. You have to curate a feed that makes you feel okay. I'm not saying you should only follow people who reflect your beliefs, but there's nothing wrong with cutting ties with toxic people. In fact, it's healthy to cut ties with toxic people. I don't know,
Well,
be mindful.
yeah, exactly. And you bring up, good points, and maybe, people should read more, and that would be good for you as
Yes.
we can get into that. Why don't you talk a little bit about your most recent book and talk about how we can get your book?
Well, my most recent book I can't talk about yet. I'm writing it now, but the deal hasn't been announced, so it's still hush hush. But I write science fiction for Disney Hyperion, and primarily my target audiences is teens and young adults. Blast Away was my very, very first middle grade title for kids ages about 9 to 12. And it's funny because my boys, they said to me years ago, all your books are for teens. You said we're not allowed to read them. Write a book that we can read. So I did. And guess how many of my 3 boys in this household have read Blast Away?
Wow.
One, because I guilted him into it. So anyway, I'm not writing any more books for them. All of my other titles, like I said, are for young adults. Now, for anyone listening who is above the age of 12, I recommend Starflight, actually,
Okay.
because that's my most award-nominated title. It's definitely my most recognized title. And if you're pressed for time and you only have time to read one book and you don't want to read a whole series, Starflight stands alone very nicely. There's a companion novel that goes with it, but it stands alone. And if you've ever seen Firefly,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
tragically short run but brilliant Joss Whedon sci-fi epic adventure, it's kind of like a Firefly meets Guardians of the Galaxy. It's space adventure, it's found family, it's enemies to lovers, it's second chances. I don't know, it's a whole lot of fun, but it's about a young girl, an orphan, who leaves Earth to take a job on a distant planet, and she can't afford passage because space travel is very expensive. So she's forced to indenture herself to her high school nemesis. And during the process, they wind up on a renegade spaceship, and shenanigans ensue.
Oh,
That's my
shenanigans. I
thing.
like that.
That is my thing. I do space shenanigans. Yes.
Well, what got you involved in this? So you weren't always doing science fiction, right? You weren't always writing. So what got you involved?
Well, I've always been a writer. It was always, that thing I was good at growing up, but I never intended to be an author. To me, being an author was like being an astronaut. You knew that authors existed, but you had never met one. You didn't think that that was something you could do. So I got an English degree and I taught school for about 10 years. And then I resigned when I had my second child and stayed home for, a couple babies. And staying home was a gift that I did not take for granted, but it was not very intellectually stimulating, let's say that. And I had a deep need for some kind of creative and cognitive outlet. I was reading books, probably like 6 books a week, flying through them, but it wasn't enough. I needed more. So I joined up with this group of people online, and we all decided to do something called NaNoWriMo, which is November's National Novel Writing Month. And so the challenge is to write 50,000 words in 30 days. And I did. And that book was Alienated, which was my first published book with Disney Hyperion. And so it kind of came about by accident. I needed something to do, to keep my mind occupied while I was home with the babies. And I'm very, very fortunate. Most of my author friends, they wrote 10 books before one got published. And to get the first one published is kind of unheard of and very, very, very lucky
Yeah.
for me. So Alienated turned into Invaded and United, and then Starflight, and then Starfall, and then Blast Away. And then also in the mix, I wrote 5 adult contemporary romances under the pen name Macy Beckett. And so, yeah, what am I on? Like,
Get back to wait. This is the stuff you're hiding from me. What is this Macy Beckett? This is what we should be talking about. You're hiding this from me. How do I get Macy Beckett, and where do I get this stuff? So,
well, all of my Macy Beckett novels were originally published by Sourcebooks and Penguin Random House, but they are out of print now, and all of those rights reverted to me. So I publish them online on Kindle. So you can only get them on Kindle now, unless you happen to find one out in the wild at some secondhand store. But yeah, those are all extremely spicy, very, 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 very spicy. That's why I had to use a pen name.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
want
bet.
any 12-year-old, accidentally wandering and getting more than they bargained for.
Well, I
So
like the spicy stuff, so there you go. So that's what it is. I always like to make a joke that I'm gonna, I just finished my first book, and then next year I'm gonna read another one. That's the way. So as far as reading, it's just never been one thing that I do. I mean, it's like the scene from Back to School. 2 hours in the movie, in and out. Rather than experience the actual author's work. So I'm not your best customer. I was not much of a reader, although I did read as a kid. I remember reading the Hardy Boys and those type of things as a kid, but not a big fan. I remember I would try to find any way to, do this, or any way to not cheat, but like even in school, like the Cliff Notes or whatever, it would help me because I just couldn't get through a lot of these books.
I feel you. And that's one of the things I've had to make peace with, that not everyone is a reader. Here I am, a published author, internationally published. It's like a huge accomplishment. To write a book is hard. To get it published is harder. To stay published is the hardest of all. And I live in a home with people who don't like to read. And sometimes it bothers me, when they'll say, well, don't you want to look at this thing I did in school, Mom? And I'm like, don't you want to read any of the novels I've written, son? So I try not to, throw it in their faces too much. And I try to make peace with the fact that I live with non-readers, and it is what it is. And the fact that they've not read my books is not, a personal snub in my direction. It is what it is.
I think we need to take a couple of your novels and put it on Netflix, and then people will watch it, and then there you go. So you can.
Know what?
We've come up with it.
I do have a film rights agent.
Well,
I have a literary agent. My literary agent sells my books to publishers, and I have a film rights agent who has been trying for years. Alienated came close. Oh my gosh, this just about killed my soul inside. Alienated came close. She was so excited. She had producers lined up. She just knew she was going to sell this book, and it was going to be a smash hit. And then the CW dropped their trailer for Star-Crossed, which had a plot that was eerily similar to mine, and that was the end of that. But it happens, man. It just it sucks. Hollywood is full of how to say this in a way that doesn't alienate anyone.
You want to be careful.
Let's just say they run hot and cold, right?
Yes.
I went out to LA once for a book signing, and this person in television, I think she worked for ABC Family. She was blowing up my DMs. You're coming to LA. We have to meet. We have to meet. I have to talk to you about this book. I have to talk to you. So excited. And then I got out there and she just ghosted me. I'm like, lady, I didn't reach out to you. You reached out to me. What the heck? But this is, it is very flakish. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm glad that I don't have to deal with any of that, that I have a person who handles all of that for me. And if it comes together, it comes together. It'll be a happy surprise, but it's not something I'm banking on.
Well, I'm impressed with it all. And you have your website, Melissa Landers. Why don't you announce that so we can get that? I'll try to post it on the page as well, which I did previously for you coming on. So we'll keep posting about your
It is,
webpage.
it's melissa-landers.com, MELISSA hyphen dash whatever, LANDERS.com. Or you can just Google Melissa Landers. I'll come up. It's,
In a good way.
yeah, well, let's
I don't
hope.
want to. Yeah, exactly. We don't want to Google, but you be lucky. You talked about Hollywood, and be lucky that you're not in the dating scene because apparently Drew Barrymore's had some issues. I don't know if you saw this, but she's 45 and she struggles with these dating apps. And she said she booked a date with one guy finally, and apparently he stood her up. Would you ever
Oh,
stand up Drew Barrymore? I mean, she's adorable, right? I mean,
well, she's so adorable. Plus, who would stand up anybody? It's not hard to tell someone no. It's really not. I did the whole dating app thing, and it's really not hard to say, sorry, I'm not going to be able to make
yeah.
it. Or can we reschedule? Or just say, sorry, I don't feel enough of a connection to meet up. It's not hard just to be honest with people.
Yeah, she
So, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I've got no respect for flakes.
no, and she was on with Nikki Glasser, who's a comedian, and Barrymore said, couldn't he have been a jerk like an hour before? Like I wouldn't even have tried to meet with a guy, but then the whole ghost. I don't understand. You talked about the ghosting thing, and that's something
Uh-huh.
that I haven't figured out either. If you have something, no one likes to give bad news to anybody, but at the same time, they make it worse by doing the ghosting or whatever because you have people that will still think about it, going, "What did I do wrong?" Right? It's always,
Yeah.
it's like it's not you, it's me, right? That's the thing, the Seinfeld reference again. But I think that the ghosting, that's part of it, right? People do the ghosting.
Yeah, I think that people who ghost do so because they don't have the right words. Not everybody has, like, you have to have a line. You really do. Like, so sorry, just not feeling the connection. Best of luck to you. You have to have a line that
Right.
you feel comfortable with, and you have to have the courage to use it.
Is
I
that
think the
like the
people,
standard rejection letter from a job? Is that what you're trying to go
yeah,
with? Is that yeah,
exactly.
sorry, we've moved in another direction. We hope you well in your next endeavor. Is usually when you get fired, right? That's usually the
Yeah.
line there. So okay, I got it.
There's no easy way to say, I'm just not into you. There's no
I,
easy way to say it.
I guess not. I don't know. I mean, I've been out of the dating pool for a long time, so I don't even know what it is, and I wouldn't even want to get into it. But it's just there's so many new things. I mean, the swiping and the swipe left,
Hmm.
swipe right. I don't even And then of course you've got there was a commercial for the devil for
Oh,
2020. Have you seen that?
I saw that.
I thought that would be swiping down, right? Isn't that kind of the way if you choose the devil,
Yes.
swiping down?
Well, he matched with 2020, the
Yeah,
year
yeah,
2020.
2020, and apparently could be matching with 2021. We'll see how
Yeah.
that goes. Hopefully, it's a little bit better. It was not better though. We just lost Tommy Lasorda passed away, and I wanted to mention
Oh, I
it.
heard that.
93 years old, and Tommy was just a treasure in baseball for a very, very long time. He has the distinction of actually Sandy Koufax wound up being on the Dodger pitching staff because Tommy Lasorda wasn't very good. I think that's what it came down to. He wasn't very good, so they pulled him off, and he later went into managing, and of course Sandy Koufax went into the Hall of Fame. But Tommy Lasorda passed away at the age of 93 yesterday. He was hospitalized back in November, dealing what was reported as a serious condition, and they haven't disclosed anything. But 93. God bless Tommy Lasorda. He was in the 70s. I don't know. A lot of people don't remember, but the Yankees and the Dodgers series, and later on with Fernando Valenzuela, a lot of good stuff. And we will miss Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah.
Terrible stuff. So anyway, I think that I enjoyed having you on today. I think it's fun to get somebody a little more intellectual than myself because I am not as I'm. I wish I read more. I'm not as well read. It's nice to have a good conversation, kind of in the way of, hey, stop being a hypocrite. Let's kind of work these out together and stop being so negative. Right? Get rid of the negative negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's be a little positive, right? Let's try to figure it out. Let's try to do a little bit better. People say, be better. Well, you could start by looking at your social media posts and maybe take a step back and think about it, right? It's like the old, when you're dialing a girl at 2 a.m. when you had a few to drink. Step away from the typewriter for a few minutes and take a breath.
Well, what I always advise, put your phone down.
Yeah.
Put down your phone and look around at the real world around you and pay attention to what you see around you, because that's what's real.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, as we're talking bad about social media, I have to talk good about it, because you can like Lens Burning Bush on Facebook at Lens Burning Bush. Make sure you like it on Facebook, and you can follow me on Twitter, because I'm not going to put up anything controversial, at Lens Burning Bush. You can listen to Lens Burning Bush on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. You can even ask Alexa to play Lens Burning Bush on Amazon Music, and now in Stitcher. It's about 29 states we've got, the District of Columbia, plus downloads in the UK, Ireland, Germany, Switzerland, Norway, France, Mexico, Japan, Canada. I did see one in Peru and the United Arab Emirates this week, so it's apparently I've gone somewhat global. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that continue it. But thank you, Melissa Landers. It's been a lot of fun doing this today. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will post this up, and you'll hopefully get a bunch of people buying your books, a lot of parents for their kids.
Thanks, Len. It was great talking to you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again to Melissa Landers. I'm Len Harvey. We'll be back with another episode of Lens Burning Bush next week. So long.